Last Friday, Pope Francis gave an inspiring message to the whole world as he stood a solitary figure in St. Peter's Square in Rome. He also gave us his blessing, and yes, we could do with the blessing of God during this unprecedented time of the coronavirus. The gospel message that was used was of Jesus and the disciples in a boat during a turbulent storm. Jesus was asleep. The disciples wake him and said, "Lord, don't you care? We are afraid, we are sinking." And these are some of the words that Pope Francis used. When evening had come, the gospel passage that was just proclaimed really speaks of this evening that we are in. Thick darkness has gathered over our squares, our streets, and our cities. It has taken over our lives, filling everything with a deafening silence and a distressing void that stops everything as it passes by. We feel it in the air. We notice it in people's gestures. Their glances give them away. We find ourselves afraid and lost. Like the disciples in the gospel, we were caught off guard by an unexpected, turbulent storm. We have realized that we're on the same boat, all of us fragile and disorientated, but at the same time important and needed. All of us called to row together, each of us in need of comforting the other. On this boat are all of us, just like those disciples who spoke anxiously with one voice, saying, "We are perishing." So we too have realized that we cannot go on thinking of ourselves, but only together can we do this. It is easy to recognize ourselves in this story. What is harder to understand is Jesus' attitude. While his disciples are quite naturally alarmed and desperate, he stands in the stern, in the part of the boat that sinks first. And what does he do? In spite of the tempest, he sleeps on soundly, trusting in the Father. This is the only time in the Gospels we see Jesus sleeping. When he wakes up, after calming the wind and the waters, he turns to the disciples in a reproaching voice. "Why are you afraid? Have you no faith?" "Teacher," they say, "do you not care if we perish? Do you not care?" They think that Jesus is not interested in them, does not care about them. One of the things that hurts us and our families most when we hear it said is, "Do you not care about me?" It is a phrase that wounds and unleashes storms in our hearts. It would have shaken Jesus too, because he more than anyone cares about us. Indeed, once they have called on him, he saves his disciples from their discouragement. Why are you afraid? Have you no faith? Let us invite Jesus into the boats of our lives. Let us hand over our fears to him so that he can conquer them. Like the disciples, we will experience that with him on board, there will be no shipwreck, because this is God's strength, turning to the good, everything that happens to us, even the bad things. He brings serenity into our storms, because with God, life never dies.